Peter Michael Davidson is an American comedian and actor. He was a cast member of the NBC late-night sketch comedy series Saturday Night Live for 8 seasons, running from 2014 to 2022. Davidson's father, Scott Matthew Davidson, was a New York firefighter who died in 2001 at the World Trade Center during the September 11 attacks. He began his career in the early 2010s with minor guest roles on Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Friends of the People, Guy Code, and Wild 'N Out. He released his comedy specials Pete Davidson, SMD and Pete Davidson, Alive from New York. Davidson starred and executive produced the comedy film Big Time Adolescence, and co-wrote and starred in the semi-autobiographical comedy drama film The King of Staten Island. Davidson continued acting in films such as The Suicide Squad, Bodies Bodies Bodies, Meet Cute, and Marmaduke. Early life. Mulaney was born on August 26, 1982, in Chicago, Illinois, to Ellen Mulaney, a professor at Northwestern University Pritzker School of Law, and Charles Chip Mulaney Jr., an attorney and partner at Skadden ARPs. His parents are both of Irish Catholic heritage. Mulaney's maternal great-grandparents were George J. Bates, a Republican mayor of Salem, Massachusetts who also served as a congressman from that state, and Nora Jennings, who moved to the U.S. from Ballahonnas, County Mayo. His maternal great-uncle is William H. Bates, who also served as a U.S. congressman. Coincidentally, Mulaney's maternal grandmother, Carolyn Stanton, and Hilary Myers, mother of Mulaney's future Saturday Night Live co-worker Seth Meyers, performed together in a hospital benefit show in Marblehead, Massachusetts, called Pills A Poppin', directed by Tommy Tune, then 19. Mulaney's parents attended Georgetown University and Yale Law School. They were at Georgetown and Yale at the same time as future President Bill Clinton. Growing up, Mulaney was an altar boy. He is the third of 5 children. He has an elder sister, an elder brother, a younger sister, and a younger brother who died at birth. His confirmation name is Martin, after Saint Martin de Porres, to honor his late brother Peter Martin, who died in infancy when Mulaney was 4. From watching the lifestyle of the character Ricky Ricardo on the program I Love Lucy, Mulaney knew he wanted to go into show business at the age of 5. At the age of 7, he was a member of a Chicago-based children's sketch group called the Rugrats. Because of this, Mulaney had an opportunity to audition for the role of Kevin in the film Home Alone, but his parents declined. For junior high, he attended St. Clement School where, in lieu of doing reports, he and his best friend, John O'Brien, would offer to perform what they had learned in the format of a skit. At 14, he played the role of Wally Webb in a production of Our Town. Mulaney would also frequent the Museum of Broadcast Communications, where he would watch archived episodes of shows such as I Love Lucy or The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson. He attended St. Ignatius College Prep where he graduated in 2000. Mulaney then enrolled at his parents' alma mater, Georgetown University, where he majored in English and minored in theology. He joined the school's improv group, and met Nick Kroll and Mike Birbiglia. He later joined Birbiglia on his stand-up tour, which Mulaney cited as helping him overcome his stage fright. Career. After graduating from Georgetown in 2004, Mulaney moved to New York City with ambitions of a career in comedy, and was hired as an office assistant at Comedy Central. After a year, he pitched the idea for a parody of the I Love the 80s called I Love the 30s, which he developed along with fellow comedian Nick Kroll. Mulaney was working at the network when Dave Chappelle abruptly left. Initially, the network had planned to fly Mulaney out to Los Angeles in order to secure the tapes for Season 3 of Chappelle's eponymous show. However, feeling it was a hindrance to being a comedian, he instead quit and started working freelance. Comedy influences. When asked about his comedy influences, he said that he always loved stand-up albums. Growing up in the 90s, I would sit on the floor with my Discman and listen to comedy albums that I bought. Mulaney has been a long-time collector of stand-up albums. He has mentioned loving Chris Rock's Bring the Pain and Bigger and Blacker, as well as Woody Allen's Comedian, Nichols, and May's Mike Nichols and Elaine May Examine Doctors, and Albert Brooks' Comedy -1. He has also mentioned listening to a lot of Jerry Seinfeld, Dave Chappelle, George Carlin, Richard Pryor, Conan O'Brien, and Bob Newhart. Saturday Night Live/I. None. Work after Saturday Night Live/I. None. Stand-up comedy. In addition to his work on SNL, Mulaney has worked for 18 years as a stand-up comedian. He has been a headliner since 2008. He has performed on Live at Gotham, Conan, Jimmy Kimmel Live, Late Night with Jimmy Fallon, Late Night with Conan O'Brien, and Comedy Central Presents. Mulaney also released a comedy album titled The Top Part in 2009 and a stand-up comedy special called New in Town in 2012. Both were produced with Comedy Central. He performed at the 2008 Bonnaroo Music Festival. Mulaney's third comedy special, titled The Comeback Kid, was released on November 13, 2015, on Netflix. His second stand-up show, New in Town, which premiered on Comedy Central in 2012, is also on Netflix. The Comeback Kid received critical acclaim, with David Sims of The Atlantic calling it a reminder of everything that makes Mulaney so singular, storytelling rich with well-observed details, delivered with the confidence of someone decades older than 33. In 2016, Mulaney received a nomination for the Primetime Emmy Award for Outstanding Writing for a Variety Special for The Comeback Kid, losing to Patton Oswalt's Talking for Clapping. Mulaney's fourth stand-up comedy tour, Kid Gorgeous, kicked off its first leg in May 2017, concluding in July of that year. A second leg began in September 2017 in Colorado Springs, Colorado, and concluded in April 2018 in Jacksonville, Florida. The tour featured 7 shows at Radio City Music Hall in New York City in February 2018, one of which was filmed for another Netflix special. Kid Gorgeous was met with critical acclaim, with Steve Green of IndieWire calling it one of the year's best pieces of writing. David Sims of The Atlantic praised Mulaney's talents as a stand-up writing. With Kid Gorgeous, Mulaney is proving he can endure in a field that even the most successful and talented comics can struggle to stay afloat in. At the 70th Primetime Emmy Awards, Mulaney received an Emmy for Outstanding Writing for a Variety Special for Kid Gorgeous. In 2017, he was invited to appear alongside Steve Martin, Martin Short, Bill Murray, Jimmy Kimmel, and Norm Macdonald to honor David Letterman, who was accepting the Mark Twain Prize for American Humor at the Kennedy Center. When accepting the prize, Letterman stated, "John Mulaney, this is the future of comedy, ladies and gentlemen." That same year, Mulaney was also invited to appear to do stand-up at Jon Stewart's charity event Night of Too Many Stars on HBO, and Seth Rogen's charity event Hilarity for Charity on Netflix. In January 2019, it was announced that Mulaney would be touring with Pete Davidson together in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Massachusetts for a limited series of comedy shows titled Sundays with Pete and John. Mulaney and Davidson have become close, appearing together on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon and Saturday Night Live. In December 2020, Mulaney sought treatment for alcoholism and cocaine addiction, and prescription drug abuse in a 60-day program at a rehab facility in Pennsylvania. In May 2021, Mulaney returned to stand-up comedy working out new material titled, John Mulaney, From Scratch. Mulaney performed for several sold-out shows at City Winery in New York City before announcing a tour starting in Boston where he sold out 21 shows. Mulaney's tour from scratch is scheduled to run from March through June 2022 with 33 shows. Mulaney honored Robin Williams posthumously in the Netflix special The Hall, honoring the greats of stand-up, which was filmed at the Hollywood Palladium as part of the Netflix Is a Joke Fest in Los Angeles. Mulaney appeared in the special alongside Jon Stewart, Dave Chappelle, Pete Davidson, and Chelsea Handler. In May 2022, during his From Scratch tour, Mulaney invited Chappelle to open his show, which drew criticism due to jokes made by Chappelle that have been seen as transphobic. In 2022, Mulaney attended Jon Stewart, the Kennedy Center Mark Twain Prize for American Humor with Olivia Munn. I Mulaney/I. None. I documentary now, /I. None. George St. Giegland. Mulaney regularly performs as George St. Giegland, an elderly man from the Upper West Side of New York. St. Giegland and fellow New Yorker Gil Faison host a prank show called Too Much Tuna in which guests are given sandwiches with too much tuna fish. Mulaney has toured the United States alongside Kroll in a show called Oh, Hello, with both in character as George St. Giegland and Gil Faison, respectively. The show premiered on Broadway on September 23, 2016, and concluded its run on January 22, 2017. The Broadway production was filmed and released on Netflix on June 13, 2017. Steve Martin was the celebrity special guest, with a bonus clip showing Michael J. Fox as the guest. Matthew Broderick appeared as himself in a brief cameo towards the end of the special. Isaac Lunch Bunch/I. None. Other appearances. In 2020, Mulaney interviewed actor and playwright Andrew Gregory for the Chicago Humanities Festival where they talked about Gregory's latest memoir, This Is Not My Memoir, as well as discussing his life and career. Personal life. On July 5, 2014, Mulaney married multimedia artist Anna Marie Tendler. Their wedding ceremony was performed by friend Dan Levy in Boyceville, New York. Their separation was announced in May 2021, the same month it was reported that Mulaney had begun a relationship with actress Olivia Munn. Mulaney filed for divorce in July of that year, and the divorce was finalized in January 2022. In September 2021, Mulaney announced that he and Munn were expecting a child. Their son was born on November 24, 2021. Mulaney has stated that he believes in God. In 2017 on WTF with Mark Maron, Mulaney explained his religious views align closer with Jewish theology than the Catholic ideas of his upbringing. Mulaney has spoken extensively about his love of basketball in his comedy and frequently attends NBA games. Mulaney is a fan of the Chicago Bulls and enjoys going to Brooklyn Nets games when he is in New York. He has been diagnosed with ADHD. Substance use and recovery. Mulaney has discussed his struggles with drugs and drinking on stage. In a 2014 interview, he stated that he had been sober since September 22, 2005. In December 2020, he checked into a drug rehabilitation center in Pennsylvania for alcoholism, cocaine addiction, and prescription drug abuse. He moved into outpatient care in February 2021. In his first appearance on television in 2021, Mulaney explained that he had checked into a rehabilitation facility in September 2020, left the recovery program, hosted Saturday Night Live in October following his stint in rehab, and relapsed once again following the show. Seth Meyers, Fred Armisen, Bill Hader, Nick Kroll, Natasha Lyonne, and other friends then staged an intervention for Mulaney preceding his December 2020 rehab stint. Political views. In 2016, Mulaney appeared at an event honoring the armed forces at Joint Base Andrews entitled, a celebration of service organized by the USO. Mulaney performed stand-up comedy alongside comedians Jon Stewart, Hassan Minhaj, Mike Birbiglia, Kristen Schaal, and David Letterman. Also in attendance were then President Barack Obama, Michelle Obama, Vice President Joe Biden, and Jill Biden. While hosting Saturday Night Live on February 29, 2020, Mulaney noted that Julius Caesar was stabbed by the Senate for being a maniac, and joked, "That would be an interesting thing if we brought that back now," in reference to Donald Trump. This joke led to him being investigated by the United States Secret Service. A Secret Service agent contacted NBC on March 2 to try and get in touch with Mulaney's lawyers, but ultimately did not contact him and recommended no action, closing the file on March 5. In a 2019 Esquire magazine interview, Mulaney stated that he donated to the Bernie Sanders 2016 presidential campaign. On June 2, 2020, Mulaney was seen with his then-wife at a Black Lives Matter protest in Washington, D.C. In his opening monologue on Saturday Night Live the weekend before the 2020 United States presidential election, Mulaney described the election as an elderly man contest and commented, "Rest assured, no matter what happens, nothing much will change in the United States. The rich will continue to prosper while the poor languish. Families will be upended by mental illness and drug addiction. Jane Lynch will continue to book lots of projects." Mulaney's statement that nothing much will change caused some controversy among audiences. The Daily Beast criticized Mulaney, writing, "To tell the millions of people watching SNL 3 days before the election that there is essentially no difference between Donald Trump and Joe Biden can only be described as deeply irresponsible." The joke was described by some as tone-deaf, while others praised Mulaney's allusions to the issues of wealth inequality and drug addiction, and pointed out that Mulaney later urged viewers to vote. In a later appearance on Jimmy Kimmel Live, Mulaney reflected he deserved the backlash and said he forgot to make the joke good. In June 2021, Mulaney appeared alongside Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez as openers for a concert featuring The Strokes, which served as a fundraiser for New York City mayoral candidate Maya Wiley. Filmography: film, television, theater, video games.